Hello students, this is Gurjit Luthra, your accountancy teacher. Our topic for discussion for today is journal with GST. Now, let's get familiarized with the word GST. GST is goods and service tax. For this, our transactions are divided into two parts. Number one, intra-state transactions. That means transactions within the state, and number two is inter-state transactions, which means between two states. For the intrastate transactions, the total GST payable is divided into two parts. These two parts are, suppose 18% is the rate of GST, so 9% will go to the central government, which will be called as central GST, short form CGST, and the remaining 9% that will go to the state government, that will be called state GST. That means SGST. So for the intrastate transactions, that means the transactions taking place within the state. For example, if a person is operating his business in Punjab and he is purchasing or selling the goods in Punjab alone, then the GST will be termed as intrastate GST. That means for that the GST will be divided into two parts. One is central GST and the other is state GST. Now, transactions taking place between the two states. So here also, if the rate is 18%, then the whole amount of GST shall be called as integrated GST, that is IGST. IGST. I hope it's clear now. Next, for the payment activities like purchase of goods, purchase of assets, expenses paid or payable, the GST will be termed as input GST, and for the receipt part, like sale of goods, sale of assets, then incomes received / receivable, GST will be termed as output GST. GST will be termed as output GST. I hope it's clear. One important thing that you have to note for the time being, that GST shall not be levied on a capital introduced. B. Drawings made in cash. C. Amount deposited in bank. D. Amount withdrawn from bank. E. Amount paid to creditors at discount. F. Amount received from debtors at discount or without discount, whatever the case is. G. Bad debts written off. H. Bad debts recovered. Then remember, this is the important one. GST is not levied on payment of salaries, wages, electricity bill, then water bills, then traveling expenses, these are the ones to name a few. I hope it's clear. Another important note that you have to write down: in case of cash discount on goods purchased, oblique sold, if mentioned in question that CD is cash discount is 5%, then calculate CD on purchase price plus input GST. Okay, but if mentioned in question that CD to be calculated only on purchase price, then do not include GST. So these are the few things that you have to keep in mind. Now we will commence with some journal entries regarding GST. I'll take an example. Purchased goods of rupees 20,000 from Rajat and CGST and SGST is at the rate of 6% each. So the journal entry for this will be, obviously, because CGST and SGST are given, so it has to be an intra-state transaction. So the journal entry in this case will be purchases account debit, that is 20,000, input CGST account debit 6% of 20,000, 1200, input SGST account debit again 1200. 2. We have purchased goods from Rajat to Rajat 22,400. Is it clear? Next, purchased goods of rupees 10,000 from Mannat, IGST 18%. IGST is 18%. So journal entry for this, obviously, as IGST is applied, so it has got to be an interstate transaction. That means transaction taking place between two states. So the journal entry for this will be purchases account debit 10,000, input IGST account debit 18% is 1800 to Mannat, it will be 11,800. C. Sold goods to Rohit for 30,000. GST is 18%. Now we are not told whether it's an interstate transaction or intrastate transaction, so we will make the entries for both of them. So if it's an intrastate transaction, our journal entry will be Rohit debit to sales account, 30,000 is the sales account, and I've told you when it's an intrastate transaction, the total GST gets divided into two parts. Okay, one is, it will be called now, as we did in this particular case, okay, that for the payment activities, GST will be termed as input GST, and for the receipt activity it will be termed as output GST. So this is what we are doing here. To sales account 30,000, to output GST account 18%, half of 18% is 9%, so 2,700 will come here. To output, this is CGST, output SGST account 2,700, total 35,400. that will come here in Rohit's account. Now, the interstate transaction, if it's an interstate transaction, obviously the journal entry will be Rohit debit to sales account 30,000 to output IGST account, the whole 18%, that is 5,400, 35,400. Is it clear? Okay. Next, D transaction. Paid rent rupees 10,000. GST is 12%. Now remember, if nothing is stated in the question, so obviously the rent is paid for the building of the same state in which we are operating, so it has to be an intrastate transaction only. So the entry will be, journal entry will be rent account debit 10,000 as it's a payment. So input CGST account debit 6%. 6% comes out to be 600. Input SGST account debit 600 to cash account 11,200. E transaction. Received commission rupees 5,000. GST is 16%. Again, nothing is mentioned, it has to be an intrastate transaction only. So entry will be cash account debit to commission account 5,000 to output CGST account 8%. The 16% will get divided into two parts. One will go to the central, the other will go to the state. So 8% is 400 to output SGST account 400, total 5,800. These are some basic transactions relating to GST. You'll have to remember them, and the moral of the story is that there are, summary is, for intrastate CGST, GST is divided into two parts, CGST and SGST, and for interstate there's only one GST, which is IGST. For the payments, the GST will be input GST, and for the receipts it will be output GST. Okay, now remember one more thing, an important point that you have to remember, that in case of purchase return and sales return, GST is reversed. That means for purchase return, the journal entry will be creditor account debit to purchase return, and whatever amount of GST is applicable on that particular amount of goods, it will be reversed. Input CGST account to input SGST account. Is it clear? So this is all about our first video on GST, General and GST. We'll continue, and it will be followed by some more videos for some more typical transactions. So please go through them and try to solve the questions whatever are given to you in the assignment. Thank you.